And hello, welcome to the Philly MacAdmins September meeting. Thank you very much to Jan for sponsoring us tonight. Also, very special thanks to the Apple Store and Joe Hutzko for accommodating us this month, since this is essentially our backup location. But there's lots to talk about, so we're just going to get right into it. What's new? This month we're going to talk about the Trident vulnerabilities and talk about a MySQL vulnerability that everybody should be at least watching and waiting for. The disclosure of today's Yahoo breach. Of course, we're going to talk about macOS Sierra. There's a lot to talk about there. As we do every month, talk a little bit about the Office updates and the JSS update, recent update for that happened in this past month. And last, we'll talk briefly about JNUG. So first up, the Trident vulnerabilities. So if anybody didn't know, there was disclosed three zero-day vulnerabilities in iOS and macOS. Apparently, these exploits have been used by state actors to spy on regular citizens. And as a result, Apple issued iOS 9.3.5 to patch iOS devices, which everyone should have done that by now. Also, they released security update 2016-001 for El Capitan to patch those vulnerabilities. Also, they issued one for Yosemite, and they issued Safari 913 for Yosemite and for Mavericks. Mavericks, I think, only gets the Safari patch, does not get the other two, mainly because as of Tuesday, Safari is no longer supported. Mavericks is no longer supported. So iOS 10 and Sierra do not have these vulnerabilities. So if you upgrade to either one of those, this is also closed. These are also closed in there.
It was 10.0.1 though, wasn't it?
What?
It was 10.0.1 though, not 10.0.
Was it 10.0.1? Okay. Yeah. So I'll have to update that. Yes. So if you're running iOS 10, make sure you get the .0.1 patch to make sure all these holes are closed. And the details about this will be in the link in the slides later. So Yahoo's breach. So it's a massive data breach. Talking about hundreds of millions of user accounts exposed. This morning I heard 200 million. This evening I heard 500 million. Yahoo's forcing password resets immediately and notifying users. I logged into my Yahoo account yesterday to update my fantasy football league, and the first thing it did was made me change my password immediately. So, so this is the big deal. If you know anybody who has Yahoo, make sure that they get to their account updated as soon as possible. Turn on 2FA for Yahoo, even though it's using SMS still. It's better than nothing. Or you can just, delete your account. As I'm sure plenty of people do that. More details at the link on the slide. So, next, we're talking about MySQL. This vulnerability allows local users to create an arbitrary configuration files by setting a general log file attribute in their myconf configuration file. So this vulnerability affects pretty much every version of MySQL, like 5.5, 5.6, 5.7, I think up to like 3.1 or 3.1. Anything. So it's pretty much all the MySQL instances that are out there. And unfortunately, there's no patch yet from Oracle. So this is out there floating around. So you basically want to limit what gets access to your MySQL databases, what users have access to your MySQL databases. In particular, those of us who use MySQL on the back end for the JSS probably want to lock that down a little bit more. Maybe change the default password if you haven't changed it already. Yeah, so until Oracle patches this, we just have to limit who gets access to it until they're ready to patch it for us.
It could also be the backend for MacAdmin 1 and MacAdmin 2 as well.
Oh, okay.
And
Well, it's pretty much anything that uses MySQL, and
Yeah.
MySQL is pretty popular.
Yeah. So they're just Django apps. So
Yeah, as I said, MySQL is pretty popular.
did anyone else notice the strange situation with the MySQL and JSS requirements versus the OS?
What do you mean?
So I was looking at the table of support for MySQL this week, and Oracle only supports the community edition of 5.7 on
Right.
10.11 or newer, whereas 5.6 is only technically supported up through 10.10.
Right.
But if you happen to be running JSS on OS 10 and you want to have both the latest OS and the latest JS, then you have this continuity there.
Yeah.
So just something came up, right?
Yeah. Part of that would probably be remediated if GEM supported the enterprise edition of MySQL, and or different databases. But those are both feature requests. We'll see what Jamf announces next month. Although I don't think they're going to make that big of an announcement next month. Just a gut feeling. So, macOS Sierra. So, the big news, released 2 days ago. So, plenty of new features. I think we already seen all the stuff that's been heard about, all the stuff that's been out. More details in the link here. Things to note that Sierra Updater is not available for Snow Leopard users. So if you have anybody who's on Snow Leopard, you'll need to provide them either the Yosemite or the El Capitan or a different upgrader if you have it, because they won't be able to upgrade to Sierra directly from the App Store. So yes, so if anybody's on Snow Leopard, they have to do a staged update. They have to go to something else before they'll be able to go to Sierra, provided, of course, that their Mac supports it, because late 2009 or later only is now the system requirement. So pretty much most of the days where it was like most Intel Macs were supported is gone now, so they're dropping off a lot, mainly because most of them are older than 5 years old and older than 7 years old, actually more older than 7 years old. So they are officially obsolete, so Apple doesn't support them anyway. Also, Java 6 is no longer supported, so and Apple is not doing any Java 6, not doing any Java 6 updates for Sierra at this point. So if you have anyone who's running apps that need Java 6, maybe have them hold out on upgrading Sierra until either the developer gets around to developing something that uses a newer version of Java, or maybe sort of finagle the requirement for Java 6 to point to a newer version of Java. So we talked about, I think, that either last month or the month.
I know I've done a couple of workarounds for different applications.
I'm talking about Frogware's little gist, where he has that little script that will fool some. It changes the location, I think, like it's a link somewhere in the system that where it says it points to where it's looking for Java 6 instead. It'll shunt that over to whatever the latest version of Java is. He did for like Minecraft. So
sometimes you can just make a couple of blank empty folders, and that'll be enough,
right,
along with Java 7 or 8 to make that work.
Yeah. So there's workarounds, or you can just abandon the app and choose something different. But that'll be for your users, right?
One
One
of the big ones for people who do digital asset management, Cumulus.
Cumulus.
The application itself works with Java 7 or 8, and it actually has one of those embedded in, depending on which version you get.
Right.
And their installer, they document that it's supposed to work with Java 7 or 8 on the system, because it's an install anywhere installer, which is just great.
Yeah.
But it does not work without Java 6. So, you know, if you have a place where you can install it that still has Java 6, you can at least install it and capture the files to deploy somewhere else.
Another example of something that requires Java 6 will be like the CS5 and CS4. So if anybody's still running on those, you can probably fool it into thinking Java 6 is on the machine without actually putting Java 6 on the machine. I know I got it to run on El Capitan doing something like that, but I haven't tried it on Sierra yet. So, so that's a big thing as well. What else? So we know that Siri is now on Sierra. Rich Troughton has a profile for you to ignore the Siri setup. That's on his blog, Your Flounder. So if that's something you guys want to block at setup, so your users don't see it, or be sure to get it from there. Apple Pay, there are some hardware restrictions for Apple Pay that I haven't listed here, but I think it's pretty much everything that's like 2011 or newer is the threshold for being able to use Apple Pay and payments on the Mac. So, but it might be like 2012. I'd have to look it up again. What?
I think it might have been 2012.
I think it might have been 2012.
Yeah, because I think it's the Bluetooth 4.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so we'll confirm that, and I'll make sure that's updated in the slide for you guys to get that. So unlock with Apple Watch. So this is also something that you may want to block, or security may want you to block. Again, Rich Troughton has documented how to do that on his blog already. So if you need to do that, grab the profile from there. I have people here using it, and part of my testers, since I don't have an Apple Watch, and there are some caveats. If first off, your Apple ID has to be 2FA, not 2FV, so it's two-factor authentication rather than two-factor verification. If you have two-factor verification currently enabled, you're probably going to disable that to get the 2FA prompt. And then once you get the 2FA prompt, you go through that. While there's probably plenty of differences between the two, in the background, the one that your users will notice the most, instead of getting 4 digits, they'll get 6. So that's how you can tell easily whether you're on 2FV or 2FA from Apple. So. And also, I think we've noticed that sometimes, at least in our testing, that having the unlock for some users have resulted in lockouts, at least on the AD side. So, we're still testing it, since it's not currently approved in our environment for other reasons. But we'll see how that goes with the unlock. I mean, personally, I'd like to see that, because then it's essentially it's close to being two-factor for the Macs, which will, I'm sure, it'd be a great boon to users. So instead of typing passwords, they tap their watch and they can unlock their Mac. But if we can't get it to lock out, and if we can get the lockout solved, then that's going to be an issue too. So, but we'll see how it goes. Universal Clipboard and iCloud Drive and document syncing. Again, Rich Troughton has documented the iCloud Drive document syncing and the big caveat was that once you've turned it on, it syncs all your documents to the cloud. As soon as you turn it off, it pulls everything that's local. So essentially, it wipes from the local machine, and all your documents are stored on the cloud at that point. Which, from a corporate or education security-wise is not something you want to enable. Because for all sorts of compliance and security reasons, this is a bad idea. So again, this is documented how to block on Rich Trout's blog. It's kind of a sort of a shotgun approach, because essentially you just basically turn off iCloud Drive at this point completely. We can't yet granularly just turn off the document syncing. Hopefully in future revisions we'll have that option. But right now it's basically you turn off iCloud Drive, which is unfortunate because that may cause some issues with some other applications and also some other services as well. And of course, enforced code signing, which is something that is very beneficial, at least from a security standpoint. So in El Capitan and earlier, you had the option of setting apps to pretty much anywhere, turning off the code signing. That's no longer an option. Also, if you have a configuration profile that enforces the Apple and known third-party developers, that in Sierra, that removes the ability for you to right-click and choose open to get beyond it. So that's if you have a mobile configuration profile already set to enforce allow Apple and third-party users. So if you don't have that and just leave Sierra alone, you can still use the right-click to open to get around the code signing on unsigned apps or installers. You can get around if you do have it enforced, you can get around doing that, but you have to use the spctl command to do that. Basically, you tell it to trust the one app or the one installer, and it will run. Which is not very intuitive and not very user friendly, but it can be done. And there's some source on that. Okay, talking about Office 2016. So 1526 is out. So this is now the second build with version with 64-bit. So as always, there's always fixes and to Outlook, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. If there's new features, I can't keep track between what's new in 26, since I'm already on like the Fast Insider 27 build, so I don't know off the top of my head what's new, if there's anything new. But that's why I put the link to what's new in the slides. So 2011 14.6.8 is also was also released. So there's a little over a year before 2011 is end of life. So now that we have Sierra and Mavericks is going by the wayside, if you can, now's the time to start migrating everybody from 2011 to 2016 if you haven't started that already. Okay. So Casper 996 came out about a week and a half before Sierra dropped. It came out roughly the same time as iOS 10 dropped, which I think was the week before or 2 weeks before. So 996 has Sierra and iOS 10 compatibility. So it gives us a lot more iOS and macOS configuration profile settings. One big thing to be aware of is Leopard and Snow Leopard clients are no longer supported under 996. Lion and Mountain Lion are now deprecated. So there's a good possibility that perhaps when the Casper introduces the next version, that will also drop Lion and Mountain Lion users as well. So they only support back up to Mavericks, and that's probably about it. So if you have any Leopard and Snow Leopard clients, then you probably don't want to upgrade to 996 at this time, especially if you have a lot of them, and there is no immediate plans to upgrade those specs. So yeah, stay away from 996 in those cases. So there's a listing of the new feature, all the new features here on the slide, and some bug fixes. And so JNUC is almost upon us. And if you haven't already registered, this is what's going to cost you up until right the week before. The week before then jumps up again another $200. So if you are still not sure but want to go, make sure you register sooner rather than later. So all the sessions are posted. I haven't checked lately, but to see if all the times have been posted, and I'm sure they will be if they haven't been already. I will check in time for the slides to be posted, and so I'll have that on the slides afterwards. And that's where you can find more details. And now we're into the open discussion portion. So if anybody has anything they want to talk about, now it's done.
Just bring up Homebrew again.
Oh yeah, Homebrew.
Since it fixed itself earlier this week, no longer tries to take control of user local. Got moved into its own folder beneath user local, so it doesn't mess with permissions necessary for other stuff.
It still installs things in the USR local.
Yep.
On that it uses, but most of the stuff that it refers to is now into its own Homebrew folder. So if you currently have Homebrew, if you do like an update on something through Homebrew, it'll migrate everything over at that point. So, so it's a little bit better. And they also detail on how you can change ownership back on USR local if you wanted to, or you can just upgrade to Sierra and that'll take care of it too. So, so Homebrew was a new thing. Let's see what else. Is anybody blocking Sierra at this point? Yeah, so pretty much everybody here is blocking Sierra at this point. So the blockers for us ended up being Pulse Secure VPN, SEP, and those are the two big ones. There is also a compatibility with something we use, Semantics VIP Access, which is their token generator. Unfortunately, when I asked Semantic about it, they said that from the day of Sierra's release, they were hoping to have something within 90 days. So that's not a blocker for us because the iOS app is perfectly acceptable. Users just have to register the iOS app with their account, and they'll be able to use it that way. And it's actually, I think, probably preferable because with the iOS app, you get push notifications. So the way VPN works for us is that we sign in with our login and password, and then if you have push notifications on, you get a little notification on your phone that says someone's trying to access, your VPN. Approve or disapprove. Just approve, and that's it. So you don't have to enter in an extra code along with your password. So the thing for us, for why we're not blocking it, is pretty much the teams that are in charge of SEP and VPN need to provide me with specifically configured installers, which I haven't gotten yet. So I know that SEP has a Sierra compatible version that just came out within the last week. And Pulse Secure also has a Sierra compatible version, which came out last week. So I know they're out there. And now we're just in a holding pattern until the relative teams can get that stuff to me. So, but yeah, everything else that I tested over the couple of months has been fine. It's just these couple of things. So we're also planning on blocking the iCloud Drive because of the document sync. That's something I don't even have to ask security about because we're already blocking iCloud Drive for iOS devices. So it only makes sense for us now to do that because of this option. So, did anybody else find anything else that breaks in Sierra
that may or may not have a compatible version yet?
Well, the installer has a different structure, so I know I was using that archive installer app for older versions of the OS, and now longer in the app bundle.
Right.
You can only get it off of the install ESD disk image. So you have that disk image you have to mount to get some information about what OS you're installing.
Right. Yeah, I know there was following a lot of that discussion in the Slack channels about how things changed a bit, and there was some discussion about create OS X install package, whether or not that was going to survive Sierra, but they managed to work around that. So we have at least one more OS to use with it. Given what's coming next year with APFS, it's probably going to be a whole lot of tool rewriting going on, I'm guessing. So, which will be interesting. So, anything else? Is anybody chiming in on Slack with anything?
Nah.
I don't know if it made it into the final release, but there had been an option to manage the default dock without enforcing the dock.
I haven't checked that.
I don't know if it's documented anywhere, if it made it in. So,
well, if it's not, I can always check.
We can always vote for submitting feature.
We can always check the 12.1 beta. Oh yes, the 10.12.1 beta went live today. So for those of you on the beta program or the seed program, check that out. See what's different. Maybe it made it in there. Maybe it didn't make it in the .0. Maybe that option made it in the .1. So. Anybody going to JNUC besides me?
We'll see if I can bend my leg, then I'll go. Or if I can bend my leg and they agree that I can go, based off of the fact that I missed the other one because I couldn't bend my leg.
All right. So this JNUC should be very interesting. There's a lot riding on this particular JNUC, I think. I think Jamf is under a lot of pressure now. At least as far as the MacAdmin community at large, at least as far as the Slack goes, there's been a lot of I would say kind of a little disappointment in the way the patch management is starting to shake out. I think it's pretty obvious Jamf's underlying goal is to make something easy for those of their customers that aren't professional MacAdmins. So it's essentially they're trying to set something up that does all the work that auto package and all that stuff is already doing for the people who are only part-time admins or not even admins, but have this thing that it's now as one of their hats that they have to wear. So, and definitely, while I understand the impetus, it's certainly, I mean, auto package is not that complex. But again, that's coming, not a consumer, not a teacher, so I don't know how to judge what is really complex to a layperson. And I'm pretty sure that there's lots of Jamf customers who are not as technically savvy as all the people sitting here in this room and all the people out listening to this particular live stream and the people on the Slack channel. So there's probably something in that. I mean, it's obviously something that they're working towards. But we'll see what the full patch management suite looks like, since they're going to be demoing it next month at the JNUC. So, but at least in the short term, it doesn't look like something that is, if you have something currently in place with auto package and the JSS importer, if you're using JSS or Monkey or whatever, that it's not be that compelling enough for you to actually start using. The patch reporting might be, as you know, as far as being able to look at a glance and see what is and what is not in compliance, and that may be useful to be able to to grab a report and shuttle that off to management so they can know at a glance what's going on there. But as far as like day-to-day stuff, at this point, I don't think it's quite ready for those of us who already have another solution in mind. Yeah. So I'm not planning on switching out this at this point. We'll see what happens next month when they finally demo it, and we'll go from there. So, is anybody using the patch reporting currently in production?
Sort of. To the best of its abilities, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other big knock on the patch reporting is that it's pretty much Flash, Google Chrome, Firefox, and some Adobe products. So, which is like maybe like at least a tenth of what most people manage. So, so yeah, we'll see. Anything else? Anything got something that they're working on or trying to work through?
Anybody seen any ways to mount shared volumes through Bash or any other scripting language other than AppleScript?
Mount shared volumes?
Yeah.
So,
because
SMB or
yeah,
local volume?
in Sierra, I mean specifically.
In Sierra specifically.
Volumes is now requires at minimum sudo to write a mount point.
Yeah, because up until Sierra, the /volumes was world writable and readable. They changed that, so instead of being 777, it's now 755, like everything else should be.
Yeah.
So yeah, so in order to make changes into the volumes folder to mount a drive, you need to have root privileges. So doesn't like mount SMBFS work?
It needs that mount point first.
Needs that mount point first. So you need to do a sudo mkdir.
Yep. And I'm trying to figure out a way to do this automatically with no user intervention, assuming a Kerberos ticket.
If you have JSS, well,
yeah, if you have
JSS, there's a mount command with the Jamf binary, but I don't know if that helps at all.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of this.
Nah, Jamf.
No, I think that
unfortunately.
I think that still requires mkdir.
There's a crazy gist for Python. That
Oh
does the
yeah,
same
yeah.
sort of thing.
So yeah,
Okay.
I think
But
yeah. Again, I
I think
think
it would have the same problem.
right, but I think Frogger wrote something for that.
That figures.
I mean, show you.
Well,
It's
without user interaction, what Jamf does is they write a launch agent,
Okay.
and that just basically triggers a script.
Right.
A user launch. You basically write a user launch agent to do that.
Okay.
So, and that's how they did it before. Because I had a couple of policies that did that. I noticed what they did is they wrote a launch agent directly to the user launch agents, and that launch agent ran the mount script. Because it was running as the user, it used the Kerberos ticket for that point. So, maybe able to. I can probably show that script. It's part of the JSS thing. So yeah, you may just need to tweak it.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know if this would work on demand or in the background for you, but you can specify a mount point in a config profile. And so if you had one that just specified a particular amount you wanted, and you installed it.
Yeah, no,
might
the
help.
one thing that that would probably break is I added some intelligence to the original script so that it would check and make sure that it was on the network before it tried to mount, because otherwise you get an error in the Finder.
Yeah, the intent behind this one though is I think really to make sure things are mounted at log.
Yep. Yeah, and the intent, at least with this particular script, is that it runs a few seconds after login to ensure that the login process has had time to get the Kerberos script and get a few other things out of the way before actually attempting the connection.
Does Nomad have the ability to mount drives? You know about Nomad?
I do, yeah. I don't remember.
I thought I remember hearing that.
Yeah,
but
because
I can't.
yeah, we have to see if maybe because that could be, you can use that.
Maybe. Yeah, I'll look into that. Although if it uses, because I even tried out with for those familiar with it, control plane. Control plane leaves a mess in /volumes. So if you're constantly switching, if you're on the
Right.
corporate network, constantly switching between wired and wireless, sleeping and
Right.
waking, and it keeps re-triggering that script, it'll leave dead mount points in /volumes. It for whatever reason, it can't clean up after itself very well.
So, well, something similar along those lines, but it's probably prohibitive depending on your client.
Mm-hmm.
The Enterprise Connect can do that.
Yeah, that's prohibitive, unfortunately.
Yeah, it definitely will mount. I'll call it network login at that point, or network connect. I'm sorry, it will mount on network connect. But I think it leverages, because it's an Apple product, leverages like built-in system calls.
Right.
Mount drives.
Probably the same things that AppleScript is calling, because AppleScript works just fine, which is hilarious that I've had to.
Probably uses some different framework actually, because I think the AppleScript calls is just through AppleScript. I think there's definitely different OPC frameworks inside that probably is calling. I think that whatever it's using mount is maybe not the direct call.
Okay, yeah, because I mean the AppleScript, at least the way that I found it works, just using the straight up mount command through the Finder. So it's using the same mechanism that you would if you manually did it. And I thought that there were other ways to trigger that, but for the life of me, I can't find them.
Well, you could do OSA script if you want.
Right.
And if you put that in a user launch agent, then
that could work too.
Yep. Then it should do the right thing.
I'll have to play with that when I have time.
I'm sorry, but every meeting I've been here, I've had network problems, and I finally figured it out.
No.
I don't know if they don't like you using Google DNS here.
Is that what it is?
They
Using
might
Google DNS?
block outgoing
Possibly.
non-internal DNS. I know a lot of places do that. Probably because it messes with stuff like this.
Probably.
I didn't even realize I still had it on. There's another conference that's local. I don't know if anybody's interested in it. Cocoa Love. And from what they said on their website, it sounds like this is going to be the last one.
Really?
The third and last, according to what they said.
I guess since script is getting a lot of traction. So,
Well, I mean,
still use Cocoa
for
for a while.
subject to say.
Right.
I don't know why they said this, but it's more for developers. So people that are developers, they may be interested in it. I don't know the menus and stuff, but it's at the Chemical Heritage Foundation, which is in beautiful Old City, Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's up 3rd and I want to say yes.
It sounds like it's near my office. I have no idea.
Because I was just up there the other week. I finally getting my certs back up to date.
No, it says 315 Chestnut Street. So maybe closer.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was at 325.
Oh yeah, it's down. Yeah. It's between 4th and 3rd.
Yeah, walked right past it.
I think all their early bird stuff is gone as well. It's coming up in October, middle October. And it's Friday, Saturday or something.
So next year, I think we'll probably be able to accommodate any venue without AV setup. We have acquired a projector, so we should be able to do things like non-traditional meetups. So,
Cool. Do we have a screen if we need one, or?
Not yet, but that's something we can add.
Yeah, we can. I mean, the screens are pretty cheap.
Yep. So it'll work really. Actually, this projector I got is will work just on a plain white wall.
Cool.
So if we need that, so next year, maybe if we do it at a restaurant or a bar, we might get a little bit more participation. So that's like future plans.
Yeah, MacTech conference is coming up in November. Well, for anybody.
Yeah, is that the one in LA?
Yeah, I've been to that one. It was pretty good.
Isn't that also kind of ending at some point?
I don't know. I'm not up on all the news, so I'm just,
I thought I heard something about that.
Out of
You know,
the-
those days were numbered.
Was it MacTech or was it the other one that already is done? That whose name I can't remember. It started around the same time as MacTech.
Yeah, I know.
Mac IT.
Mac IT, that's the one that's done. So
Yeah.
MacTech's done.
Yeah, ones that were born in the wake of the death of the IT track at WWDC.
And the general, like, Apple conferences.
Yeah.
Macworld, that's right. The Macworld conferences.
Yeah, everybody kind of switches from Macworld over to WWDC, and then the IT track disappeared.
Yeah.
WWDC.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to 2008. That was
Yeah, it was
interesting.
Yeah. One thing. So a couple things that happened this week. So last couple of days had an issue where people installed Safari 10 on El Capitan, and then immediately on restart, Safari would not launch at all. Haven't really figured out why, but it looks like from the log snippets I've seen is that it's a corrupted install of Safari 10. Like things were missing. They were trying to call, and the one had on launch Safari, like it wouldn't launch at all. The icon in the dock wouldn't bounce at all. Looking in the dock, looking at the logs, saw a lot of like the Safari notification service exiting immediately. So I ended up having to go into the software update server, pulling the El Capitan Safari package from the software update server, running that on the affected machine, and restarting, and that fixed it. So in case you guys run into that, that's what you have to do, since you can't get Safari 10 anywhere else at the moment.
That brings up something else. The SUS itself.
Is that,
deprecated.
that's SUS itself is deprecated. The Apple
Yep.
software update server is deprecated. So it also means that Reposado is kind of deprecated.
Well, and the interesting thing too, I mean, I haven't seen if they've changed anything about the caching server yet, but definitely people had concerns about whether they'd have the ability to filter.
Yeah, I mean, the caching server right now, as Apple ships it, is pretty opaque.
Yeah.
Like you
I'm sorry.
no, you turn it on and it does its thing, whatever its thing is, and that's it. So
I think even though it's deprecated, it is, the software update services are included in the new version of.
yes, they are.
They are.
You don't
And
get
they're
the GUI
still-
for it anymore,
Okay.
but you can turn on the service.
Yeah.
I've been asked to, be able to have the granular control over what updates are available.
Right.
And that is, there's a Jam Nation thread of lots of people that are having the same issue as me, where you go to enable the update and it automatically defaults to being disabled again. And so I opened a ticket with Apple about it, and I'm still waiting to hear back any kind of, maybe it was coming,
Right.
this was coming, and it's never been
So
fixed.
it might be, in that case, it might be worth it to stand up a repository server
Yeah, that was kind of
and
my
then make that your
next-
master and then point everything else to that.
Right.
And there's a recipe out there, or, well, they're called modules. There's a module if you happen to be using Reposado and Puppet. You can use Puppet to set up a Reposado server. It's mostly oriented towards Linux, but it's there.
Right. So
There's also a Docker. If you use Docker, you can also set up repository through Docker, which might be a little easier depending on your. I think we're good. Yeah, which might be easier depending on your facility with Docker.
So would I need a Linux server in order to host from setup?
No.
Can I do that on?
You can do that on OS server.
Okay.
It just needs Python and Apache.
Yeah, because I saw plenty of
Or
documentation for doing it on Linux server, but I didn't see anything really for hosting server. But-
Well, I think the original documentation says OS 10 server, and then Linux server came later. Right? Yeah, because I think when they were developing it, I think they did it for OS 10 server first, until they decided to abandon all their OS 10 servers.
I know the Puppet module mostly works on OS 10.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's another thing next year we'll be talking about what we do about updates
I think
on the
the
caching server.
biggest thing is just like being able to delay updates.
Yeah.
So like when we were sitting down and thinking about what we wanted to be able to filter on, we just really wanted to have like a week-long delay before
Right.
things came out, and the ability to turn that delay off for a particular update. And there's lots of different ways to do that. And one way you could, if you were using Reposado, is you can have branches. And so if you just tie launch daemon or cron job or something to having branches, you can have the stuff download from Apple to a master, the built-in Apple master branch, and then you can just copy one branch to another, and you can keep cycling through. If you're just creative about when you schedule things to happen, you can end up getting a delay just by having, a couple of, like 8 branches or something that you need in order to do that.
I currently
It can be
have
pretty simple.
Yeah, I currently have a 48-hour delay on some of those. Mainly because most of my testing is done with the beta updates. So it comes down from Apple, and then my master server gets it, I guess, after it's released that night. And then my other servers don't get it until the following night. That's usually enough of delay at this point. And if there's anything major with an Apple update that breaks something, we can find out if we haven't already found out about it during testing.
Reposado has support for a proxy server too, so if you need that, you can configure it.
Yeah, I'll check that out. Thanks.
Somewhere, like I had seen that Blue Coat had some sort of module for Apple software updates. I don't know if anybody's ever had to deal with Blue Coat, but
We have a Blue Coat proxy.
they have some sort of feature that I saw in a white paper, but trying to get information about it is not easy.
Yeah, we have a Blue Coat proxy, but I think it's just for website filtering. It doesn't seem to interfere with any of that traffic.
Well, the hope I had was that it would act like a cache, an internal cache, so that like you could your SUS or your reconcilable server could talk, try to get to the Apple site, but actually be going through the Bluecoat proxy, which could have cached things for you already. So, like on first request, it cached that particular update. So, like if you have, let's say you have SUSs, geographically spread out, but your proxy covers every geography.
Right.
It'd be nice if the SUSs could just, sync through the proxy without having to go all the way back down.
Right. All right, anything else?
Monkey had some updates over the summer for Sierra.
There was a Monkey update, I think, but was that last month?
2 or 3. I've gone up to a certain level. And
I think it's like 2.8 something now.
Around 2.8 that's where it was being built in.
Yep. So,
McAfee, I think, might have just released their update for
Sierra.
They had an update that came out in August that didn't list compatibility, but I didn't get to check the release notes for the one that just came out. But it was their 10.2 of the endpoint protection problem.
So, rumor has it that Skype for Business for Mac will debut next month. And that's a pretty strong rumor.
So,
I also hear that next week at Microsoft's Ignite conference, that they might be demoing Skype for Business for Mac at that point.
Skype for Business on the Mac actually requires additional infrastructure compared to the Windows client. It requires some sort of Microsoft proxy service that they use for internet-connected Skype clients.
Oh, the mobility requirement?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the latest build, that's no longer required.
Oh, that's gone now?
Yes.
Interesting,
Oh, sorry, that was different.
or that's maybe not.
We'll get it in post.
So yes, that from what I heard, that will not be in the general release. That requirement will not be in the general release.
Is that tied into LinkedIn and everything else? Is it like, I was trying to find out.
I don't think they've done anything with LinkedIn yet. So I was talking to somebody from LinkedIn, and the transition plans were still happening. So they were business as usual until actually the whole transition happens. So I don't think there's anything happening with that quite yet. But I'm sure we'll hear about it when it does. Also, I didn't mention this when I was talking about the Microsoft updates. So MAU, Microsoft Auto Update 4 is coming. And that will give us a command line interface. And so we'll be able to basically run a script to call the MAU. And 4.0 also gives us the ability, also will have the ability to download the updates in the background and automatically install if the app is not running, or prompt the user to install if the app is running. So,
Fancy.
They incorporate Skype. That is when you run Microsoft updates.
Skype will be part of the Microsoft Apple updates, from what I hear.
I've heard the same thing. Now, will they force us to use PowerShell in the command line is the question.
So, has anybody played with PowerShell yet for Mac OS X?
Not that call. Play with it on Windows.
Yeah, use it on Windows.
I've touched it a couple of times for Windows when I had to do something.
I stood over the shoulder of somebody while they changed something about Exchange mailbox. And it made the mailbox suddenly work.
Right. So yeah, magic. So so the Windows admins that I talked to really enjoy PowerShell. Welcome to command line, I said.
Wow. It's nice to have a unified command line for Windows.
Right.
Where because previously, there were a lot of different functions had different command line environments.
Yeah. And a lot of the syntax for PowerShell seems to mimic that of bash, so.
That was intentional, apparently.
Yeah, so, no longer, like, the switches have dashes now instead of, a /, which was always weird.
A question for anyone. Has anyone had any trouble or anything doing boot camp in this area? I did mine today on the production version.
We don't do boot camp anymore.
I want to do it just because the switches I have to get in. Like I use FullTerm, but
Right.
I can't run updates to Safari, Chrome, or Firefox. The switches. They require Internet Explorer for some unknown reason.
ActiveX.
But yeah, that's the only reason why, and I want to try it. But and now the bootcamp driver says for Windows 10 or later in Sierra.
Yeah.
So they've gotten rid of, I guess,
Yep.
7 support and 8 support.
Well, they got rid of 7 support in
Oh, last time.
yeah.
El Capitan.
Really?
Capitan.
Okay.
You could
Yeah.
upgrade a 7 install, but you couldn't do a fresh 7
Okay.
install.
I did read that.
And yeah, it was 8 and 8.1 were supported in El Capitan, and now it's just 10 plus. Any reason virtualization wouldn't work for you?
I have it virtualized too, but I want a couple of our users in the business office. I work at a school, and the business office people refuse to take Macs. So we're going to try and, as their PCs die, give them boot camp.
Are you a hosted Mac shop?
Yeah. It's a school, so everything except the business office, and even a couple of people that we refuse to buy PCs for. So
Is the interface for the Switch serial, or is it something?
it's serial. Yeah.
So you have like just USB to serial adapters?
Yep. And I use FullTerm, and I have to switch the baud rate to get it to even look like words that I can read. It's very annoying.
How old are these switches?
What?
How old are the
This
switches?
is a brand new HP, not Broker, 1950 PoE switch.
Really? Still with the serial. There's no web console for that?
There is, but in order to, like, we first set it up, in order to.
Oh, you still have to plug in.
Not only that, but this one shipped with a missing patch update where you can't turn on PoE out of the box. So you had to run the update to turn on PoE. And I'm sitting there and I call up HP, I'm like, it won't install the update. He was trying it on a Windows machine. I'm like, no, I refuse. He's like, just try it. As soon as I booted up in IE, update installed in 2 seconds.
I think I still have my USB to serial adapters. It's been like years since I've had to connect
I
the
have
Switch.
like a toolbox of network nonsense.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Actually, I think that was in my packet tools that got stolen.
You know what else you need to use Internet Explorer for? Any critical website that your organization runs on port 87. I don't know if anybody's encountered like weird port numbers like this.
Port 87.
Oh, just well, yeah, I got started myself. Like
Is that,
if you
HTTP on port 87?
no, it's 87 is actually it's a text-based protocol. It's that's assigned to it. Anyway, the funny thing is there's a list of ports that browsers have all decided to block, except it's by all I mean Chrome and Safari and Firefox, and not Internet Explorer. And the reason why they block this is because these ports are designated for text-based protocols that browsers could be used to exploit. Like, so it's not the browser's problem, but it's, somebody could be using something loading in the browser to effectively send traffic to a service that's running on these ports and send text-based commands without authentication or security.
Wow.
So think like sending SMTP commands, that kind of thing. And so the browser got together and said, we're just going to block these ports by default, and they made a list, and it's kind of like the HSTS lists and stuff like that. And Firefox and Chrome have overrides they can do on specific ports if you happen to need to access a site on those ports, but Safari has no overrides. And Internet Explorer doesn't care at all.
Well, Internet Explorer is going to be is deprecated.
Well, yeah.
That's what you refer to as Edge now.
It's Edge now.
I don't know if Edge.
It's a
has
different
the
engine.
same problem.
It's a different rendering engine, so they may have blocked those ports in Edge.
Well, I
Which
don't know
means
if
you
people
need to
are-
keep, you need to keep a Windows 7 machine running.
I don't know if people are blocking Edge to some places. As the new thing that
Oh, yeah,
Windows
yeah,
admins
because-
aren't familiar with, then they block that.
Yeah, for large
For that
corporations, there's always that one service that runs, requires IE8. And only IE8. And we're like, it's 2016, come on. There are other browsers. Most of those internally are definitely being upgraded, mainly because executives want to be able to view them on their iPad or iPhone. So they're like, yeah, I want to be able to use this. And we're like, oh, I guess we need to update stuff too. We still have XP machines that are accepted. They're exceptions. I think the plan is to virtualize most of those, so they're off and or upgrade the service that they're doing, switch to a different service that doesn't require XP. But yep, we still have a couple of stragglers. Not a lot comparatively. I think it's like a couple of hundred. When we're talking about like hundreds of thousands of devices, so it's small. So I guess we can kill the live stream.
Yep. Night, everybody.